welcome Botswana in our home. As I told to Mrs. Ambassador, we welcome not lots, but many African presidents from Senegal, Madagascar, Mozambique, Côte d'Ivoire, and other countries. And now that's for the first time we have Botswana. So that's really a chance for us to have you, because we know the country by reputation, but not every aspect of your country. So we are very pleased to hear you. Mrs. Bogolo Joy Kenewendo is Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, and maybe I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Ambassador just to present you more deeply, and after you will have the floor to make the speech. So, Mrs. Ambassador, I let you the floor.
Thank you very much. I hope it's okay if I speak from here.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. As you will have heard, our minister here to my left, her name is Bogolo Joy Kenewendo, Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, otherwise known as Mighty. Yes. She likes to call it Mighty. Meaty. She serves as a cabinet minister and in Parliament as a specially elected member of Parliament. She's the youngest member of both the current cabinet and Parliament, and is the youngest female minister and member of Parliament in the history of Botswana by date of appointment. She's a trained economic diplomacy professional, trade economist with professional experience in sub-Saharan Africa. She was a partner at eConsult Botswana, doing some consultancy work in Botswana and other Southern African countries. She's worked for the Minister of Trade in Ghana as a trade economist, co-authored many papers, and frequent commentator on the economics of Botswana and Southern Africa. I could go on for a very long time, but she is an expert in her fields. Despite her youthful age, I will leave you to guess it. If she wants to share, she might. She's been chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence, Justice and Security, Government Assurance, and a member of committees at Parliament, including Public Accounts. She's actually not a stranger to Geneva. She comes here often because she attends WTO. She's attended WTO meetings and IPU meetings. She's been honored with many accolades in Botswana, including the 2018 African Achievers Award. In her early youth, she's been an active advocate and advisor on socio-economic issues, including poverty, inequalities, youth and women's participation in development and private sector development. Her voice is associated with inclusivity in development and ensuring services reach the people in a timely manner as their share of the national cake. She strongly aligns herself with the SDG message of leaving no one behind. And I'll take you back to yourself, Mr. Moderator, to continue.
Yes, Mrs. Ambassador, because
There we go. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for having us today. Will we be working the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much once again, and I'd like to greet you all and thank you for making it to Botswana's first presentation to the Press Club. As already introduced, my name is Bogolo Joy Kenewendo, and I'm the Minister at the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry in Botswana, and I was appointed earlier this year, April 4th, and when we got a new president, April 1st. So I'm part of the new-ish administration in Botswana whilst we await for elections next year. And since we've been appointed, we have been working around the clock towards Vision 2036 that Botswana has set for itself, which is really working for inclusive industrialization and inclusive development and inclusive growth. But before I get into a lot of details, I just want to take a few minutes and introduce Botswana, the country, because I know over my several months I'm meeting people, and some are asking me, where exactly is your country? Or I have been surprised, someone thought I was from Latin America, and I tend to explain, no, it's not Bolivia. It is Botswana in Southern Africa. So many of you might have actually heard of Botswana or events that have happened in Botswana, or some of the things that we're famous for, and just haven't really associated them with the country. So I just want to jog your memory a little bit and state that Botswana is the country which is home to the largest inland delta, the Okavango Delta, which is one of our prides. It has the largest variety of wildlife and fauna. And it is also home to the largest herd of African elephants. So whenever you hear of African elephants, you should think Botswana. That is us. And at the moment, we are actually concerned about that population overpowering human population, because we are a conservationist country, and we've done very well in that department. And we are also home to a woman's best friend. Some and most women already have this. We are home to the diamonds, and we used to pride ourselves with being the largest diamond producer in the world. And fortunately today I'm putting on some Botswana diamonds, courtesy of Debswana and De Beers. And some might know us, and hopefully all of you would know us as that country that has such a conducive environment for love. The royal love story blossomed in Botswana. Meghan and Harry, they were in Botswana when they finally fell in love. That's what they say, right? So we can run with it and say we really created the environment for that love affair. And also, we are known, and we really pride ourselves with this, as the longest and consistent African democracy. Longest and consistent since 1966. We've been a democratic state, never had a war, never had a coup, consistent. So for 51 years this year, and we're very proud of that. And we are also known as a very reliable and trusted development partner, having grown many years and reached a middle income status in the 90s, and have remained consistent with our growth rates and with our stability in the economy. And we want to be known from this moment going forward as a very trusted and reliable, stable investment country. And that is Botswana, and we like to pride ourselves, and we also want it to be known as our pride and you knowing it as your destination. And that is Botswana in a snapshot. And I hope that next time you see blue or you even get some rain, you will think of us, because that is our currency. It's Pula. And Botswana Babalenghano, the Botswana that I hear, I'd like them to echo the sentiments of Pula. Pula. Thank you very much. So next time you see blue, you see these prints, you see rain, you see water, remember that Botswana is very known for the water, for the rain, and for our very strong currency in the continent. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm just very honored to be here with you today and to present to you our value proposition as an investment destination. We have in the past made various presentations in regards to our human rights and in regards to our democracy. But today our main focus is really on the investment destination and a trading partner. We have developed over the years really focusing on our fiscus and ensuring that we remain competitive and relevant in the market. Unfortunately, all this goodness in relation to our governance and stability hasn't translated into the foreign direct investments that we want or that we had envisaged we would have attained as a goal. And so we are working relentlessly and with yourselves as partners towards developing Botswana in that regard. So Botswana's geographical positioning is really in Southern Africa, and it is north of South Africa, west of Namibia, east of Namibia, west of Zimbabwe, and south of Zambia. And if you look at the Southern African map, you would get that positioning right. And by population, we say we have 2 million, but I'd like to stretch it a little bit and say our population is really in Southern Africa. And when we market ourselves as a market, we're not just looking at the 2 million, we're looking at the greater 60 million in Southern Africa, because we are land-linked. We are not just landlocked. We are linked to all those countries, and therefore we like Switzerland, exactly. And therefore we see ourselves as a very key partner in the development of Southern Africa, and as a gateway to the rest of Southern Africa. We have a lot of value propositions other than being one of the safest countries in the continent and the least corrupt country, one of the least corrupt countries in the continent. But we also have no foreign exchange controls or restrictions on business ownerships. We are as open as can be, and we are working even in addition to reforming our immigration system to ensure that it remains competitive and open and accessible. And our taxes are quite low for manufacturing, around 15%, and the IFSC for financial services, also for innovation companies through the Innovation Hub, and the maximum corporate tax rate is 22%. 22% we can compare to the rest in the region. Some go up to about 40% in the region, our neighbors. And the maximum for an individual is around 25%. We have consistently ranked over the years as a very stable country for fiscus. We are ranked Moody's and S&P A-, A-2, and Moody's A2, which is really good rankings because we have managed our fiscus quite well, and we are seen as a benchmark for a lot of African countries and otherwise. So we are starting to target really to being a benchmark globally, not just for the continent or Southern Africa. And duty, free to import of machinery and equipment for manufacturing purposes. And we are in a space where we really want to encourage exports because we see that the future of our economy is export oriented. Like I said, we're looking beyond the 2 million that we have in the country and looking at the population of Southern Africa and beyond. And as you would be aware, in Africa we signed, or we're really developing the Continental Free Trade Area, and therefore land linked to the rest of the continent, as well as for the tripartite free trade area, which links the three regional blocks, which is SADC, EAC, and COMESA. And we have a very sound monetary policy. I don't want to go into the details of that, but over the years, we have been known to manage our monetary policy quite well. And we have a lot of incentives in place, preferentials through the special economic zones, as well as regional zones, including the Lesiba Pikwe area, Spedu, which I'll talk about later on. Notwithstanding all of these really huge accolades, including the fact that we have an investor one-stop service center where you come as an investor and we send you to that office within 14 days. Everything from land to having registered a business should be done. And we pride ourselves with that, and we want to really accelerate our efforts towards investor attraction. And when we look at why we are here today, why Switzerland, we see a lot of complementaries and a lot of synergies with Switzerland. And like we said earlier, we are both land-linked and not just landlocked. And we have stable economies, and we can speak to the fiscus management and to long democracies. And we really see the Switzerland economy as one of our own, if I can say that, as one economy that we can relate to. And in comparative terms, Botswana has often been termed Switzerland of Africa. So we're here today in the real Switzerland, and hopefully that you will want to come and see the country that is otherwise termed as the Switzerland of Africa, and also popularly known as Botswana. Our global competitive ranking is very good. Botswana is ranked 13th out of 137 countries on the soundness of macroeconomic environment, 40th in terms of labor market efficiency, and 45th in terms of sound institutions. And we pride ourselves once again in the institutions that we've been able to build over the past 51 years. And secondly, it is documented that Switzerland is home to several multinational corporations in the areas of pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, especially watchmaking, machinery, and banking. And that the Swiss economy is dominated by services sector, which is about 75% of the GDP's share. And this is something that we aspire to. We aspire to having an export-led economy, and one where we see the continued growth of services towards the contribution of GDP. And because we note that services play a very critical role, and so far we've seen services in Botswana growing at double-digit numbers, 14% or so, and they continue to contribute quite efficiently and effectively to the development of the country. So these are some of the things that relate Botswana to Switzerland, and why we saw it important to have this brief in Switzerland. And in turn, just like Switzerland, we are an attractive destination for foreign investment. Some might not know it yet, but we are the right place for the investments, especially in the continent. We see also our small population as the right place to pilot and to have sandboxes for innovative technologies, as well as for innovative businesses. So if you're looking for a place with a small population where we can test out new products, not necessarily for health reasons, but for manufacturing and for tech, then Botswana is the right place for you. We are also looking at some emerging sectors other than our very well-known diamonds and mining. We're looking at financial and business services, commercial, agriculture and agro-processing, cargo and logistics, manufacturing, including automotive components and parts, and especially ICT that is looking to get into the continent. We see Botswana as the first entry point into the continent. And third, we are committed to promoting trade through our SACU EFTA trade agreement, which is first agreement to be signed by SACU members as a collective. And our trade with Switzerland so far hasn't been good, but recently it overtook Norway to be the highest export market for Botswana products within the EFTA states. And this is very commendable. Small state to another small state. It means we have deep pockets and deep partnerships, and we appreciate that. And Botswana's exports grew from 776 million in 2012 to a peak of 2,000 million Pula in 2015. So we continue to appreciate that. On the other hand, imports from Switzerland have been quite low, really comprising of electrical machinery and equipment, and would like to see more of the Swiss watches.
No problem.
More. I fortunately have one. And we want to see more of the Swiss watches and other goods reaching Botswana to be dispersed into the rest of the continent. And there is still a lot of potential to diversify export products into both the Swiss market and the Botswana market. And in case you didn't know, and it's not written here, we have the best beef. And I know that can become a rivalry, Swiss beef versus Botswana beef. But I think together we can have the best beef. We're the best beefs. We can say Botswana and Switzerland have the best beef. If you can't find Botswana beef, ask for Swiss beef. That's how we can sell it. And we also, according to FDI markets in 2018, Switzerland falls in the top 10 source countries for greenfield investments between 2003 and 2017. And around 4,000 projects are estimated to originate from Switzerland. And we're really looking at projects of this nature reaching Botswana. And there are a lot of jobs that have been created in Switzerland in this regard. And the end goal really for us as well is to be able to create those jobs. And we haven't really benefited from the expansion of the Swiss Global FDI, and we're hoping that through your partnership we'll be able to see some movement in that space. At present, we only have one registered manufacturing company with Swiss partnership in Botswana. And I must say that I was a little disappointed when I heard that, because the last time I was in Switzerland, I saw a lot of manufacturing companies, and so we want to start that dialogue to ensure that we get more partnerships with Swiss companies in Botswana. But the company has invested quite a lot. It has invested 4.5 million Pula, which is around how much in Swiss francs? Not a lot, but in Botswana is a lot. The ambassador is not helping me with the mathematics. It is around 400,000. There we go. Thank you. You're not a mathematician.
No, I'm a lawyer. That's my defense.
She's our former Attorney General, so we can pardon the mathematics. So around 400,000 Swiss francs that has been invested in Botswana, and in Pula terms, it's quite substantial. And the company has created over 30 jobs, and we would like to see more of it, retain the ones that we have and see more of it. And I want to take this moment to really assure the Swiss business community, to assure the Swiss business community and the European business community at large that our government is in the process of undertaking serious reforms to facilitate the ease of doing business in Botswana and to facilitate cross-border trade. I can actually confirm that at this moment we have both the excise and customs bills in Parliament waiting to be passed to ease cross-border trading between Botswana and our neighbors. And in August 2016, the President, His Excellency Mokgosi Eric Masisi, approved the implementation of a set of reforms aimed really towards revitalizing Botswana through the IFSC offering. So we are slowly getting there and really working hard at becoming more competitive, again, not just with the continent, but with everyone else who is looking for investors and want to grow their jobs and skill set. The OECD has listed Botswana as a compliant country. In terms of taxes, we are doing our best. Like I said earlier, we are really tight on financial reforms and on the fiscus. So we continue to keep a tab on how we perform in terms of a tax jurisdiction. And we are really committed, once again, to availing conditions for doing business, become more attractive, create a facilitatory regulatory environment, supportive infrastructure, and a competitive and highly productive workforce. A tidbit, most of us were educated by the government, including at tertiary level. Some of us, economists, we got grants. I don't know about lawyers. They also got grants. So it's almost everyone got a grant. So we have an educated workforce, and one that is very easy to retrain for the purposes of manufacturing or otherwise. And we aim to open our economy and our country to the global world and to international expertise and know-how, and to make our foreign investors most welcome. When many people visit my country, they talk about the hospitality, just how hospitable everyone is. And I want to add one more thing to that by saying where I'm from in the country is even more hospitable. If you come, I promise we will kill a cow for you. That's what we are known for. We gift. We gift in terms of meat. So it's a great country. If you love meat, we will do that. If you're vegetarian, we have lots of spinach. We can also accommodate you. Everyone is welcome in my Botswana. And as I conclude, I want to urge all of you, the media here and other stakeholders present today, that we constructively engage with brand Botswana, with our brand, with Botswana's story, and that every time, I'll say this once again, every time you see diamonds, think Botswana. Every time you see elephants, think Botswana. Every time you think of doing business, think Botswana, because we are the right place for your business. And I also want to invite you to visit Botswana from October 30th to November 2nd, where we will be hosting our premium business-to-business exposition, the Global Expo. And my team is here, is available, and our ambassador, Madam Molokomme, is always in Geneva and ready to serve and facilitate our foreign investors. And in this regard, we also have a BITC office in London, and we have one in India, and several offices around the continent. But that's not to say you cannot reach our ministry directly. We are also available in Botswana should you find yourself in Southern Africa. We are only 30 minutes away from South Africa, from Johannesburg. Feel free to hop on an Air Botswana plane and come visit us. And should you find yourself in Zambia, we are also only an hour and a half by plane. And if you find yourself in Addis, we have a direct flight. So, and if you find yourself in Windhoek, also, there's a flight that will take you straight to the Delta, and it is an hour and a half as well. So you are always most welcome to Botswana, and once again, think Botswana, think brand Botswana, do business in Botswana, and buy Botswana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Minister, for this, yes, very dynamic presentation. It gives the taste, it gives the envy to visit your country. your thanks. Now I would like to give the floor to Her Excellency, Mrs. Ambassador Dr. Athaliah Lesiba Molokomme, who is Ambassador in Geneva. Mrs. Ambassador, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. Except, Mr. Moderator, perhaps we're quite happy just to get maybe a Q&A, because I'm going to make closing remarks.
It's up to you. I don't know if you wish to add something.
No, the Minister has really made a perfect presentation in my view, and all I will do at the end is to respectfully agree with everything she said and have nothing more useful to add. But
I'm afraid to speak.
I'm not. You will find out that I'm not afraid to speak. I'd just want to get a little bit more interaction so that your colleagues can also come in.
Yes, please, if you wish to add, to intervene, don't hesitate.
Thank you. Thank you, Moderator.
Thanks. Yes, I open the floor to your questions if you have some. Maybe I will I will start and I give you. Yes, as you are a little bit like Switzerland, you know, and you have very important neighbors. What are your relations with your neighbors, and especially for the trade, for the exportations? With whom can you rely? Because it's also important question for that. So maybe just to start the discussion. And after, yes, please, Mrs. Minister. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a great question. We have very good relations with our neighbors. We have a customs union, SACU, which includes Botswana, South Africa, Swaziland, Lesotho, and Namibia. And we are always striving for regional integration. Even just 2 weeks ago, we completed our meeting for SACU with our negotiations of how to better the customs union. And we were chairing as Botswana, and we just handed over to Lesotho. And we are also a member of SADC, which includes 15 countries in total, which we are all in good relations with. And when the President, His Excellency Mokgosi Masisi, took over, he made it a point to visit all the countries in Southern Africa to restate our friendships and relationships with our neighbors, and to ensure that when it comes to trade, you know, there is ease of, there's facilitation, and that there's ease of movement of our goods and services. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Michael. Maybe come to speak to the microphone for the video and yeah.
It's brilliant. Breaking the furniture. Send me the bilgi. Look, thanks. Yeah, Minister, it was a brilliant speech and very good story to tell. I knew your predecessor, but two very well, Ambassador Mokgosi, and one of his frustrations was lack of communication. Can you hear me? Yes. Lack of communication links. Now, you touched on a little bit about what is Windhoek and through Johannesburg, but he talked about his aspiration to make better communications with the rest of the world. And as you know, particularly for the Swiss, I've lived here a long time, you've got to be able to get there relatively easily, even if it's a long way, without making too many changes. So what are your plans? What are your aspirations for better air links between Zurich and, no disrespect to Geneva, but Zurich is, in a way, the business capital. This is the international capital, and Geneva with your country. Sorry for the accident here. Okay. I'll turn it off.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm the Ambassador of Namibia, and I would like to warmly welcome the Minister, our neighbor. Honourable Minister, I think you need to, first of all, change your slogan about the meat. You somehow work Namibia in. But that's just a joke. You know, I was very impressed by your presentation. Thank you very much. I felt much at home, and I would like to testify to the previous session, previous question, what excellent relations we have, not only Namibia and Botswana, but the entire SADC community, and within SACO, of course, as well. Sometimes your presentation was a little bit too quick, and I would be very much interested in how much value addition you do to your products in Botswana. For example, for the diamonds, I once saw with the statistics, it just talked about rough diamonds. I would be very much interested to hear that, and I wish you a wonderful stay in Geneva.
Thank you very much for those questions, and if I could just start by the last one. Diamonds, we have embarked in a diamond beneficiation process, and we had managed to bring several site holders and diamond cutters and polishers into Botswana. Unfortunately, only one jeweler had made it to Botswana. So in terms of value addition, we have various levels that is being done for diamonds. There's just the sorting, and then there is the cutting and polishing, then there is the jewelry, which is an aspect of it. But we have seen our value addition numbers going up. At first, we used to I think we've seen an increase of value addition for diamonds around 25%, because we get some from Namibia, as I'm sure you're aware. We get some from Namibia, and we sort them, cut and polish, and export to the rest, mainly in Europe and the Americas, and some that we get from South Africa. And I think that number was around 25%. And lack of communication and transport, in response to that question, it's very true. We've had several challenges. And on the ICT front, if I could start with that, just recently, about a month ago, we made a decision to collect all fiber cables in the country and give them to the entity responsible for internet, to ensure that we can have the fast and reliable internet that we need, especially if we're going to be pushing for services and in the financial sector. So there will be a lot of investment happening this year, in particular in respect to ICT. We had already purchased for the waxy cables and the easy cables, but there was a connection missing between those cables and the last mile. So we're working on that last mile, and I think by the end of the year we would have seen considerable progress. In terms of transport linkages, we have great aspirations for that. And last year, 2017, yes, last year we finally got to the fifth freedom. We signed the fifth freedom, and we are looking at opening up our skies and allowing more companies to fly into Botswana. And we are offering fifth freedom to those that leave Ethiopia, because that's the one that we have. Leave Ethiopia, pick and drop in Botswana, and move on to Cape Town or Bulawayo. So those are the kind of arrangements that we're looking at, especially looking at the population that we have, so that we are more competitive. And but the Minister of Transport is very active in this particular space, and he is engaging several stakeholders to ensure that they find Botswana as that link and entry point into the region. And I think I will end there. Thank you very much.
Yes, no, I think the Minister has addressed all the issues, but I just wanted to reconfirm on the diamond beneficiation side that although it appears that further downstream in the jewelry sector, the business is very slow, I think it would be important to know that, you know, Botswana used to be very much of the producing country, where diamonds were simply mined in the rough and then sent to London for, after some just basic work on them. As you know, in 2010, we entered into a major agreement with GPS, the mining company. So they would move their sales and marketing functions to Botswana. It was actually part of the negotiations for them to get a new sales agreement and for them to have extension of their mining leases. So we're doing this in stages. We now have the DBS selling and marketing company. We have our own window through which we sell Botswana diamonds, where we have a local government-owned company that is now looking at other ways of marketing the diamonds. So I think it would be important just to remember that what we have now is more control over the product. It's in the country. And so even if we don't have jewelers in the country, Your Excellency and my dear friend, Ambassador of Namibia, we feel that we are making some progress such that jewelry will then come next, where we'll give incentives to say you don't have to travel far. We have 10 sites a year, 10 events at which diamonds are being sold, and it is in country. So I think much as, you know, the very downstream end of the diamond industry is important. At the time Ambassador Mokgosi was here, this was more than 10 years ago. So I can tell you I'm less frustrated than Ambassador Mokgosi because things have really moved.
You told me this was coming.
Yes, it's here. It's here. And so even the communication links the minister has referred to, that has improved. It's not perfect yet. We are more ambitious than that. So we are hoping that we will be able to move. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for this answer. Maybe I have one question for the two other participants, because I see, Mr. Mokgosi, you are international business executive. So what is it exactly, international business? And same question for Mrs. Pule. What is the competition authority? What are your responsibilities, if I can say? Just, yeah.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think it's a very easy question for me because you make me to market myself. I'm responsible for investment promotion.
Okay. Yeah.
My office is based in London.
Okay.
I work for Botswana Investment and Trade Center, which is the lead investment promotion agency for Botswana. So all the leads that we will be generating from Switzerland, we will be making some follow-ups in terms of facilitating their investment into Botswana until they convert. So what we would do, we would provide information on any of the information that they would want to know about Botswana. But at the same time, we facilitate, like I said, their businesses as they want to convert. In addition, once the Swiss businesses set up in Botswana, we also handhold them to regional markets. Honourable Minister has highlighted that when you come and set up in Botswana, you should not only be looking at Botswana, you should be looking at the region. So as the lead investment promotion agency, we know the region more than anybody else. So we run ahead of our exporters, gather the necessary information on market entry strategies. We provide them with key links into who they can supply in those regions. And in my role as the international business, I would be interested also to appreciate all the trade related events, whether they are export promotion or trade fairs here in Switzerland, so that I can also bring Botswana products to participate in your market. And then I can also match Botswana products into the EFTA or Switzerland market. So this is my role. And there are already some Swiss business there, or investment, or it's starting? Like what the Honourable Minister has said, we have seen not much. Not enough of business between Swiss and Botswana, but this is the first phase of the many engagements, and we believe that what is going to happen after this event will be more follow-ups, and we are hoping that the media will be selling the Botswana story so that we get more interest from the Swiss business community. And I'm the right contact, the embassy is the right contact for follow-up.
Thank you. Yes, and after Mrs. Pule, yeah.
Maybe before Mrs. Pule. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just wanted to say that much as we are a little disappointed that there's not a lot of actual Swiss investment in Botswana by companies, the signs are promising. They do go. As I speak, and last week, we had a business, yesterday actually, they finished yesterday. My Swiss counterpart in Pretoria, in South Africa, who's accredited to Botswana, she put together a team, a group of Swiss, a business delegation to our country. They saw Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Health, because they had companies such as Novartis, Nestle, the big Swiss companies. So that facilitation happens in different ways. The office in London also services our mission here in Geneva, so that his expertise can be used by ourselves. So if there are any contacts to be made, you come, your first stop is the Botswana mission here in Geneva. We are accredited to Switzerland also as a country. So we are also in touch. So I have a desk officer for Switzerland, for example, that will then work with him from the London office, because we are one government, even though we are spread in different embassies. I just wanted you to know that it's not all negative. It's promising. It's they do go. The Swiss companies did go, and in October, our president will be here at the World Investment Forum, where we are also hoping that he can directly engage with the local Swiss businesses in this way. But we are open at the embassy. Sophie, where are you? She is our desk officer for Switzerland. Is she here? No. But you'll see her at the reception, and she will give you her card. And Lungo is over there. Is our trade attaché here, who comes from the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. So, we're here for you, to connect you to our country. And Minister, come in.
Quickly. Thank you, Ambassador. That was a very good addition on the business delegation, the Swiss business delegation being in Botswana. And I hear it was a very fruitful meeting. And just a few months ago, I was in St. Gallen for the St. Gallen Symposium. And there we also got very promising leads. And we are hoping that we'll continue to see more development between Botswana and Swiss. And at St. Gallen, it was not only the Swiss companies. We saw a lot of other European companies that were interested in visiting Botswana. So we are always open to more business delegations like that. And the embassy the mission can assist, as she has already said. So thank you.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Project. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. We have asked the relevant question. I had the Competition Authority of Botswana. So we are looking at any restrictive business practice that can be imposed by dominant players. Our role is to level the playing field and to look at any anti-competitive behavior that can affect the investors. So this one creates a very conducive environment for investors, and it creates investor confidence. Doing that, we are looking at any cartel, bid rigging, or collusive tendering, any cartel that can put other investors on the other side and the dominant players abuse their dominance and eventually affect your investment. We also regulate mergers and monopolies and acquisitions. So our act facilitates that we will be able to assess those measures and make sure that anyone who comes in as a dominant player will not abuse their dominance. So we assess the mergers and monopolies. We are also set up and empowered by the Act to advise the government on any policies, laws, and directives that may or facilitate anti-competitive behavior. So we are able to advise the government on that, and we have already made a headway in some of the anti-competitive practices through advocacy of the laws and policies. We also work with regulatory authorities. You know, when you come in and your market is regulated, you go through the regulatory authority, but we also work with them so that they look also onto any anti-competitive behavior or restrictive business practice under them. So we are working hand in hand with them to assess that, and our act cite them so that we are able to work hand in hand with them. And we already have even memorandum of understanding with them. But we are looking even more beyond that so that we are also cited by the act, since our act also cite them. Internationally, we are very active. This morning we are going through peer review by UNCTAD, but we work with most international bodies. Regionally, we work very closely with SADC. We work very closely with UNCTAD. They set up the competition authority, and they have done the peer review this morning. If you go into their site and you go into our website, you'll be able to see that peer review. That was done by UNCTAD. And the review of that was, they were critically looking at our act to see if there are any restrictive business behavior that can be fueled even by our own act. So they have given us that feedback with areas where we need to improve. But I must be glad to say that our government has been very proactive, because they have already even reviewed the act, and it got presidential assent in March. It's still improving on the Competition Act. And further than that, for the benefit of the consumer, our government has also even has already taken consumer to be facilitated together with the Competition Act, and we are going to have what we call Competition and Consumer Authority. So with that, we are also active with OECD. In 2016, they also even assisted us to work with them on the cartel and bid rigging training for government entities. And we are also working with agencies all over the world, because we are one. We have what we call International Competition Network. So with that, most competition authorities, if not all, they participate in the International Competition Network, and we are also party to that. So we are not just regionally, we are not just within our confinement of the country, but we are also seen outside Botswana. We really facilitate cross-border crime and cross-border trade very well. We don't just work regionally, we work internationally. Even right now, we are looking in one of the measures with Russia, and we are working very closely with FTC. So you can see that we also even facilitate that, so that when you come in as an investor, you know that anything that can affect your investment cross-border from your own country or into Botswana, your investment is in good hands. So that's why we say think investment, think Botswana. I have my team here, they work very day and night. The international license officer is over there, and the director of investment, the director of communications and advocacy is also around here. So we are very, very active in anti-competitive behaviors and any restrictive business practice, and anyone who can abuse their dominance to affect your investments. So with those ways, your investments are in good hands.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Mrs. Pule. So we have still 5 minutes before 2 or 7. So please, Mr. and yeah.
My name is Johnson Oduaye, Editor-in-Chief of Africa Link magazine. My question to the Minister goes into the competition between the Western society and China in Africa. Some years ago, former President of Switzerland, Madame Camille, said that it is difficult for the West to compete with China in Africa because Chinese has an advantage, which is the government, the Chinese government, back the companies coming to Africa to invest. Whereas in the West, the company has to finance itself, has to find the capital, has to find the money they need. You know, no government support them. Either they have to go to a bank or things like that to get it at interest. But that is not the case with the Chinese companies. So now you come, many African countries have been coming here for to woo Switzerland. But that problem is still there. And we see that in many African countries, Chinese, okay, Chinese has covered, even involved in so many sectors, even petty trade in some countries in Africa. So what is your view, or how do you think, or how, the West society companies could come to Africa or could come to Botswana and be able to compete with the Chinese company who is being backed by its government?
Thank you for the question. Maybe we take another question. Please come to the microphone because you can. You have to speak in the microphone. I think she was first.
I've been trying to ask a question.
Okay, but please, madam, you can come, but please come to the microphone.
Okay.
There is a microphone there.
And how does it work here? Yeah. Okay. So, Your Excellencies, thank you very much for the presentation. I know you had another presentation a few years ago, and I was introduced to your diamond business there. I have visited your country a few times, and I love your country. It's fantastic. I remember that last time you did the presentation, you had you specified which sectors you were looking for investors for. And I think if you really want investors from Switzerland, it's very, very important that you specify exactly which sectors you're looking for and give concrete examples. For instance, there was a glass factory, somebody wanted investors for that. Somebody wanted investors for meat, for skin, for the diamond business. I think that an investor needs to know what are the opportunities, concrete opportunities to invest in, what kind of money are you looking for. You know, that is very, very important. I have many investors who are ready to come and invest in the diamond business, but they don't know how and what they can invest in. So if you have a platform on your website or an officer who they can contact and say, okay, what do you have of concrete investment possibilities? Then I think that can attract a lot. Anyway, thank you. I love your country.
Thank you. He's going to see you right after this.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy.
He's the guy.
Yes.
There was another hand. Maybe we can just.
Okay, please come on the front or there, please.
Minister, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I'm Fabrice Toko. I work for JP Morgan. I'm as well president of a Geneva-based association called Club d'Affaires Afrique Suisse. The aim is to promote young African entrepreneurs and to help them find investors in Switzerland and around the world. So my question was for you, more related to this young generation. You're very young. I mean, you are young, which is true. And I would like to know, I'm young too as well. So it means that we need to raise. So this is a good point. So I would like to know which concrete measures are you taking or putting in place for the young generation in your country, Botswana, to make them, to encourage them for entrepreneurship and to make them visible internationally. We work, our association work a lot with countries like DRC, where I'm originally from, Ivory Coast, Ghana, a lot of startups, a lot of young entrepreneurs are doing. Which concrete measure do you do for those young generation? Thank you.
Question about China, one about the
Well, yes. So let me start with the last one once again. We are doing quite a bit for SMEs and startups. When we started at the Ministry of Trade, we decided to divide the ministry into 3 apexes, one focusing on SME development, one on investment development, and one on export development. And SME development, as you are well aware, is a lot of young entrepreneurs, and we are pulling all the resources that exist in the ministry and our parastatals. So we have 11 parastatals, 5 departments, and 3 units. And it's a lot of resources that are found in different pockets. And what we've decided to do is to pool them and ensure that they adequately service the constituents, which is young entrepreneurs. And there will be a lot of focus on startups, on the process. You know, we're currently developing a catalog that really shows the process of starting a business and the process of from starting the business to market, because we think that last linkage is very important, and that's where a lot of young entrepreneurs miss the mark. And if we can get that production to market linkage set, then we know that we will see more vibrancy in the economy. And then the idea is when some of those SMEs graduate, they would want to export. And we have an export development program which is being championed by BITC, which is really all about export readiness. How do we get a company to be export ready? Some are busy producing bags at the moment and they haven't exported, but they are perfect products for export. So BITC is working with them, even at the small scale that they are, to ensure that they are able to find a market and even target them as luxury brands. So there's a lot of work that is ongoing. And then on the investment, it actually links to what you're doing. Which is once we have helped establish and we see that you're growing and you need expansion, for example, then we are able to bring in investors like her and the people that she knows to come and meet some of those developed entrepreneurs. So it becomes like a pipeline. We don't want a promising entrepreneur to fall within the cracks, and which is why the ministry and the associated parastatals were apexed in that manner. As for the key sectors, our pack that I'm hoping will be distributed to all the media houses states all the key sector opportunities that we have, and our mission has a list of these as well, and our BITC office, and I will just name some of them, and I know I was quite quick during my presentation. So some of them in the commercialization of agriculture and the agricultural sector. Here we're looking at leather. We are, as a government, currently developing the leather park, but we want it to be a triple P. So we are inviting companies that in the leather business, you know, making leather seats for BMW or whatever, to come to Botswana and help develop that sector. There is beef, which I've already said, it's delicious. So if you want to eat the beef, and help us sell it. And around primary production, a lot of veggies. We just found out that one of our desert areas is actually a perfect area for potatoes and melons. It's a desert, it's very sandy. Turns out it has a lot of underground water, which produces the best sweet melons, which we're hoping we will be able to process and export. And there's a lot of ostrich farming. So that's the agricultural sector. A lot of opportunities in the mining sector, soda ash, coal, diamonds, base metals, a lot of opportunity. Again, we will share this document. And then in manufacturing, we have a very high import bill. And we think there are great opportunities for import substitution around the areas of automotive components, general manufacturing, products, everyday products, toilet paper, water, cement, and all of that. There are a lot of opportunities in that space. And then for services, ICT, financial, and business BPOs. just to mention a few. It's a whole document. We will share it with you. Not forgetting tourism and hospitality, very important. Again, we have a great habitat for wildlife, but we are also a great space now for entertainment. So golf clubs, nightclubs, restauranting, Michelin star, not yet, hoping for some. And then just to quickly bring it back, how do you invest in Botswana? We have the mission, they can facilitate. And then we have BITC. Both of them are great partners in getting investors to Botswana. So if you have any questions, any doubts, any issues, visit any of these two offices and they will assist. And then lastly, I'm wrapping up. Lastly, on the West versus East issue, we don't necessarily see it as a big West versus East because we see the different opportunities that exist. In Switzerland, for example, very specialized high-tech finance sector, which we are hoping for, which we really want. And in China, we are also looking at textile, which Switzerland doesn't specialize in. So the way we see it is the opportunities in both areas. And for some Western countries, the insurance bodies that exist to back up investments in Africa. For example, last week I was with Italian companies that came with SACE, which is the insurance body, which guarantees their investments in Botswana. And because we have such good credit rating, we also can back it up with our trust and stability. So we have, in some instances, been able to facilitate. And we also have an export credit insurer in place for some of those purposes. And I think that's about...
Chinese are already present there? They are investing in China?
Not as many. Not as many. We have a Chinese presence, but if you compare it to the region, is not as many Chinese companies. Yeah.
Last question, because we have to...
Dominique Aubert speaking. It's not a question, but it's an answer. I'm from SERV, the Swiss Export Credit Agency, so we are very similar to SACE, so we can back up the export from Switzerland. So we are able to provide insurance, and then you can have a financing, and we are especially interested in a big project, infrastructure project. Great. Thank you.
Because we have the reception upstairs, so
yes.
I wish to thank you. I don't know if you wish to add something as a conclusion,
yes.
Mrs. Minister? Or?
Yeah, just one last thing before the ambassador gives us the vote of thanks. Yeah. One last thing, even as we call on foreign investors and we're looking to be your investment partner and investment destination, we have very key things that we are working on as the government of Botswana and specifically as the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. We're working on a transformation agenda. We are calling on you to be our transformation partner and ensuring that it's an industrialization that doesn't leave anyone behind, one that promises sustainable jobs, and one that promises living wages, and one that will ensure that we are able to catapult ourselves from being a middle-income country to a high-income country, but most importantly, that our national targets and goals of poverty reduction, of inequality reduction are realized, and that our Vision 2036 as well is realized. So it's really all about the transformation agenda, and we hope that you can join us, be our investment and transformation partners. I thank you very much.
I will not subject you to long closing remarks. I was going to, but we started late, and I think that the minister has really done an excellent job of really giving you the picture, the broader picture of what our country stands for. We called this press conference, ladies and gentlemen, really to share with you just an overview of Botswana's business and investment profile and environment. We are hoping, as the Minister indicated, that we could develop this partnership even further to allow the story to be shared with other important stakeholders through your various platforms. We are confident that Botswana is best suited to serve as a hub for expanding business operations to the Africa region and beyond. So we are very pleased that you found time to attend this briefing and to actively engage with our Minister. And I do hope that you learned something new about Botswana, and most importantly, that we have stirred your appetite to consider Botswana as a business destination or a tourist destination. Let me reiterate as I end our earnest hope and expectation that through your various media and business agencies, you will spread the word and reach audiences that we would not be able to reach. Please fully utilize the Botswana mission to the UN. We are on 80 Rue de Lausanne, and we are going to be sharing our other contacts during the networking at the reception. We want you to know that we really do appreciate what the Press Club in particular has done for us today. This is only the beginning. He and I have already spoken about more events. And in October, when the big boss is here with the Minister again and about 3 or 4 other ministers, we are hoping that we will continue to work together with you at the Press Club to access, to share information with our stakeholders. So, having said that, really, it gives me great pleasure. Thank the Minister, close the press event, and invite you to join us at the reception next door. I think it's upstairs. Is it downstairs? Upstairs, not next door. Where we can continue networking over some food and drinks. Thank you. Pula. Pula.